It's been dark way too long in this place. That bright smile long gone been replaced. From ear to ear I see that fear in your face. Tell me when the last time you felt safe, cause there's some evil people in the streets. Evil at your front door, creeping while you sleep. It's time to raise up, show that evil we ain't weak. We don't turn the other cheek, I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? I know the journey got hard for a minute, but I ain't giving this up. Yeah, I got the heart of a champion. If I get knocked down, I get back up. We go through bad days, hard times, low pay, high crime, pathways to a life without sunshine. I'm the lifeline. With this life, I'm gonna be the pipeline, shining in the night.
Hello, 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 everyone. How are you, Ed?
Doing well. How about you, sir? Nice to be back.
David, how are you, sir?
Fantastic.
Michael.
Good evening.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. We're going to allow everyone a few minutes to kind of get logged in here and join us on the various social networks we're on. We highly recommend that you go and watch us on our YouTube channel, but we do have people on Facebook as well and over on Rumble, and we're even on X. So thanks for joining us, everyone. We've got our special guests this evening, Edward Pocock and Michael Kahn. They are two people that I have big admiration for and are awesome individuals and good people. And we're excited to kind of dig in a little bit tonight about what it actually takes to become a highly trained sniper and to be able to take the rank of being one of the best in the world, right? So we're going to dig into that in a few minutes. You guys, as you're joining us, you guys are co-hosting this with us. So ask questions, drop a comment in the comment box on whatever social media channel you're on. If you're on YouTube, that's really the best way to communicate with us. So if you're on Facebook, feel free to jump off, go over to our YouTube channel and join the conversation there. But you can ask questions on Facebook as well. It'll come through. Rumble, X, it will not come through. So if you're on those platforms, you can either wait to the after party, go over to our website to ask questions, or you can jump over to YouTube, which I know a lot of people on Rumble, such as us, are going there for a certain reason and not give the views to YouTube. But it is what it is. If you want to communicate with us, that's going to be the best way to do it. So before we get started here, Ed, do me a favor. Give me the 15 to 30 second commercial. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm retired, 25 years in law enforcement, published author at this point. Most of my time, I've always had a lot of fun with shooting competitively. I have this obsession with putting things in small holes downrange. And I've been that way for a long time and ended up being a police sniper for many years and competed internationally and nationally. And biggest achievement I had was 1998 gold medal super sniper shootout winner at Raton, New Mexico, New England Top Gun, and fourth in the world in 2005. And then I hung up my cleats.
So
very nice.
Mike, 15 to 30 seconds. I think Ed hit that 29-second mark. So you can go up to that or less. Go ahead, Mike. Tell us a quick overview.
I was going to be a smart aleck and just say I like to shoot stuff. 25 years in law enforcement, still serving. You got into the precision marksmanship, sniper stuff back in 2001, and I just took to it. Before that, I really didn't shoot much rifle. And it was just the ability to put a round in a very small hole consistently at quite a distance. It's exhilarating. Probably my biggest accomplishment, and Ed and I did it together individually at that same shoot. I was 9th in the world, and as a team, we took 4th overall. So that was a wild run. That was a good time.
Oh,
And that's the biggest. That's the biggest accomplishment too. Is your individual placing is swell, right? But it's what you accomplish as a team that always matters. You know,
It was like 160 something shooters, Ed.
Yeah, it was a big event. We had all over the world. Everybody was there. I mean, it was so many people there. You had countries didn't get along, and you know they.
Where did it take place?
Budapest.
Yeah, Budapest was the first one, and Czech Republic before then. But we went to Budapest was the big event.
Wow. We're going to really dig into a lot of questions I have and dig into that a little bit more, and especially in the after party. So if you guys aren't a member of T4 Survival yet, during this conversation, keep us on so you can hear what we're discussing. But head over to T4 Survival, click on the join link. It's free and easy to sign up, and you'll be able to join us in the after party. The purpose of the after party is to be off of social media, where we don't have the overlords listening to everything we're saying and censoring and whatever we would like to discuss and put on. So that's a place that we can be private and talk more openly about things, and you can ask questions in the after party as well. So I got a question for you to start things off. What does it take to be a sniper? What are some qualifications? What is attributes in order to be a sniper?
Mike, you want to do that? You want me to put in what I look
about
for?
back and forth. I mean, I think the big component is temperament. You know, you can't have somebody that doesn't have patience, that isn't thoughtful of their actions. Because there's a lot of time you're laying around waiting, and you're on the weapon, and you're waiting for that moment, and it may never come, but you can't be fidgeting with your gear. You can't be spacing out, thinking of other things, and you can't be overly aggressive.
Yeah, you need somebody. I mean, I had a couple that I had to bring on. Like I brought Mike on the team, and then before that, I had a couple other people that I had on. One ended up going into the K9 area, which he specialized in that. He was brilliant, perfect personality for doing it. What I looked for, and it's not an instant oatmeal kind of skill set. You have to have somebody who's willing to, they don't want to be the, well, I'm the best. That doesn't even happen to somebody that shoots as much as I did. You never can make that claim. There's always a bear in the woods that'll eat you. I mean, it's you're always improving. You're always talking to people. You're picking for, and so what you're looking for is people that are just as inquisitive and willing to sacrifice the time necessary to become craftsmen in a skill set. It's like anything else, like what you guys do with Krav Maga. It's the same thing. You're constantly learning. I mean, it's any skill set you're doing, and so you're always looking for somebody, like Mike said. Temperament is the big one. I mean, that's you don't want somebody on it. Oh, I can't wait to shoot some. No.
Those guys get out quick.
You don't ever make it in the door. I mean, you never equip them. You never send them to training. You don't. I mean, in a healthy organization, anyways, that's how you would do it.
So with someone with those types of attributes, how long to become proficient? Maybe not an expert, but to have that proficiency in sniper shooting.
Mike, you're best for that because you went through it recently, really, only 20 years ago now.
Recently.
20 years.
20 years. 20 years. The time is slipping by me. I've been retired already 20 years.
It feels like yesterday.
Crazy.
I think from the beginning of training to going overseas to the half-cock shoot was in 2001, right?
Yeah, I forget when it was, but it was right after you were finished training.
Yeah, and we took second place as a team there. So that was 2001, 2002. I would have to look at the dates, but you're putting if you consistent and put the effort and time in, year and a half, you could get to a point where you're proficient.
So that was a little. So when I had when I was doing the training, we had the rifle team, right? And that's the flag over my shoulder is the pennant with all our victories we had, even shooting iron sights. So what I ended up doing is I was a big believer in somebody learning basic iron sight shooting at 200 yards first. Master that, within excellent reason anyways, where you were proficient at iron sight shooting and then move them over. And Mike spent almost a year. He's deceased now, but his name was John Callenbach. He was a high master shooter, and Mike spent all his time with him learning all those basics, and then brought him over to the bolt action. And from there it was easy. You got
to remember too, though, during that training, you're working. So this is not our job necessarily. This is extracurricular when you're just getting into it. So it's all your own time.
It's funny Mike says that because we would go overseas and we would do well. I mean, like really well. And I can't even tell you how many times Southington, big city. And, and I'm like, no, you do this full time. No. I mean, if we did 8 hours every couple of weeks every month on the range, never mind every week, that was like a lot of time. And we used to go to the range. It was one event we went to. I think we spent 4 hours, Mike, at Bell City, and that was all we had. And we were just rechecking our zeros and making sure our equipment was good. And if you're prepared, remember, you got to be prepared for a call out too. So your stuff should always be ready.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
So, if you guys are on with us right now, you're on our social media channels, especially YouTube or Facebook. You have a question for Edward or Michael, or for myself or David for that matter, please drop them in the comments, or at least say hello. Let us know where you're listening from, and hit that like button if you like what we're discussing. We got a lot to go through. We're just getting started. We're going to be here for another 20 minutes to half hour on YouTube. Then we're heading to the after party, where we're going to dig in even deeper.
So they liquor us up. Get more info. That's what they liquor us up. Get more info.
Like we were trying to do before we went live on your new book, right?
Yeah. That's what
we can't talk.
You don't give up any info. We've tried.
Guys, these are tough guys here at T4. Tough.
It's even worse in person.
Yeah,
I bet.
So I have some questions from people that messaged us on our social media channels and email that they wanted me to ask you. So let me go over this next one here. So when you are in a situation where you are going to take a shot at somebody and you're aiming for the head, am I correct?
Yeah. There's a zone here. Well,
why aren't you aiming for knock the weapon out of their hand? They want to know why not just shoot them in the kneecap or shoot the weapon out of their hand.
Yeah. So if you end up having a precision shooter, like a police sniper showing up, they're not there for trick shooting. Oh, excuse me. Jeez, I'm sorry.
On call.
Well planned.
Planned. He's off to.
I'm so sorry about that. I apologize. I didn't know where my cell phone was. I do now. So you aim for a box, a T-zone we call it. It goes basically from the corners of the eyes and below the nose, and it creates a small T box. It's very small. It's maybe an inch across height or an inch high, and then a length of maybe the width of whatever that amounts to be. So you need a rifle that's capable of doing that. And why do you do it? Well, you do that to disable you shut down the brain. You just take the brainstem out, gone, and you turn to jello. So it's, you hope, no one goes into this position hoping that they have to take that shot. And of course that band goes all the way around the head. So, when they're on an angle or something like that, you gotta, that band goes all the way around. And you have to know your rifle's capable. You have to know a lot. I mean, it's a lot goes into making that one shot, but that's why you do it. And why don't you aim at a pistol? You got to think about what you're doing. So think about this for a minute. And you're committing a use of force that is absolute at this point. If you have to pull that trigger, that person is going to be gone. They're done. It's and so the level of responsibility there is pretty high. So that's how powerful that rifle is. Well, try to imagine, are you going to do trick shooting? I mean, it's just not. It's not something you do. Like there's a video of the guy getting the gunshot out of his hand. Everybody thinks about that whenever they bring this up. And the reality is, so let's assume the person wanted to kill themselves, and you create this trick shot, and you hit the gun, and the bullet, but you have no idea what it's going to do once it hits something, ricochets, catches the guy below his chin, and kills him. You now just committed a homicide.
So killing the hostage.
Well, killing the suicidal guy, or the hostage. I mean, your options are so limited on what you're there to do. I mean, you're there for one purpose. They have no other options. Everything else is ended. There's no way of sending in the entry team. There's no way of negotiating the person out. You are literally the last line of what they're going to end up having somebody do. I mean, it's not very common, but it's a skill set. You got to have at the scene. I mean, it's, that's the way it is. And it comes in handy when you're doing other rifle activities too. Like, you're clearing schools and stuff like that. You tend to be really proficient with, if you can do a precision rifle, you're going to have any problems with an AR-15.
Next question.
Sorry, I hope that was too long. I hope it wasn't too long.
No, it was actually really good. And I'm going to actually back up before I read the next question, because you brought something about an entry team. For people that may not know the difference, tell me the difference between an entry person and a sniper?
Oh, Mike, go ahead with that. That's
Oh, it's very basic. It's the entry team is literally up close and personal. They're maybe arm's length away from their target. They're the ones going into a building, clearing rooms. Your sniper is set off at a distance. They're Overwatch. They're 100, 200 yards out. And that's really the big difference. One's up and close, one's close and personal, and a sniper is a long distance provider.
And Jeff asked in there, what distance does drop become a factor? And so not so much bullet drop, right? I mean, because you adjust for that, but you always check your range. Most police sniping shootings are less than 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They're not these football length things. Although I've been places where it's been longer than 300 yards if I had to take a shot. But but the reality is, most of them are pretty close range. And if you think about it, you're just always thinking that little box I'm talking about. And if you were to draw that out, you'd realize, holy crap, that's at a football size or a football field length. Having to put the bullet there, it all comes down to mechanics, and that's something we'll talk about some of the things that I'd like to do at camp. Concerning people's equipment and what they bring, and maybe get them more knowledgeable on what they actually possess.
Outstanding.
So yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Okay. And so we talked about entry. We talked about the sniper position. And a police department is a patrol person, a person that's, patrols the streets. Do they have the capability to be that entry person? Do they have a capability to be that sniper person? How does it work in a PD? Are all your patrolmen trained to use a rifle to do entry, or is it only a small group? Explain to people that don't understand how this actually works in a police department.
Well, I can speak to it from an administrative sense. When everybody that goes through is trained in how to do entries at a minimal level. I'm not saying they're going to be entry team members right away, but it wouldn't take long to get them up to speed on entries. Because, you remember when they get in a stack, they call it a stack, right? They line up like a bunch of turtles on a log. And, one person blows the door open in the front, and then they all start screaming in the door, and they start J-hooking into rooms and clearing them, right? The technology, how they do it may have changed, but the way they do it is pretty much the same. A precision rifle shooter, a police sniper, that's years in the making. A entry team member does not necessarily mean that they can do the sniping, where a sniper, I could say, could probably do entry work.
Gotcha.
And it's
the guys that are trained, the entry team members, they're highly skilled. They're extremely proficient. It's very different watching them do a room clearing or building clearing than your average patrol officer. Now, we're trained to do the room clearing, building, that kind of tactics you see in an entry team. What's that?
Yeah, as patrol. Okay.
Yeah, we're trained in it, but not to the level I would say any of us are operators. We're not as response team members. We're not, but we could go through the motions and be competent in what we do. It's just they put the time in regularly to stay proficient, to build their skills. We should be everybody, but it's they're given that dedicated time. They also have specialized equipment, so it's a very different. Their armor is different, their weapons are different, their equipment is just better.
Yeah, they're going in with things that a patrol officer never going. They got door wedges, and stuff like that to keep doors open. I mean, you'll see them with door wedges on them all the time, and other little things that they would have. Typical patrol officer on the street's not going to have. Most of the snipers you have that are on an emergency team like that, they're training with the entry guys for a few reasons. One, you got to know how they roll and what they do, because if they go in and they run into something that's really bad and they got to pour back out of that place again, you better be ready with the rifle to have their back, when they're pouring back and they're in retreat. I mean, these are nightmare scenarios, but so the snipers, for the most part, I've been on plenty of stacks. I mean, I was by no means would I call myself a quote unquote operator, but did I know how to clear a room and how to clear a house? Yeah. I mean, that's, you learn those skill sets just being part of a team. So,
and a lot of agencies and departments may not have a team, right? They have patrol, but some agencies don't have a SWAT team or special operations team. So then it becomes multiple, like two guys in one agency, two guys in another agency, another guy from another agency, and kind of creating like a regional or a county type of response unit. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the problem you have, though, is what's happening now is things have changed. Like ever since Columbine happened, and I know that sounds like it's a long time ago, but you remember law enforcement, I lecture on this quite a bit. Law enforcement has a problem, a generational problem. It usually takes them like a full generation to catch up to what they should be doing. And it's literally because your command structure is patrol officers that existed 15 years ago on the street when things were normal. Now they're in a command and they're given instructions. So unless you stay up to date on things as a law enforcement commander, you could be using policies that are 15 to 18 years old. Well, Columbine, when that happened, what they learned was, remember how SWAT teams used to work. So let's go back in time. You responded, you showed up, and you waited. You stabilized. That was their whole deal. They stabilized. Where now that's foreign. You go in. There is no more that stabilization phase has gone away. And it used to be the snipers would then show up, and you'd get all, and it was almost like a Hollywood set, almost more than realistic. Columbine changed all that. So now what happens is your patrol officers are usually trained in departments that are well trained. They're going in. There's none of this waiting around anymore. You go in.
Got it. Guys, if you're joining us on our social media channels, drop a hello in the comments. If you have questions for Michael or Edward, myself, or David, drop those in the comments as well. And if you like the content, what we're discussing tonight, please hit that like button. So let's talk about the next question here. I should say, let's have you answer the next question. How the hell could you do the job?
Oh, Mike, you're on now. Go ahead. I'm curious.
Well, we didn't create the situation. You have to do that job. You need that almost like a natural aptitude to be a precision shooter. It's not for everybody. Like I was saying before, it takes a lot of training, but you need something to start with. You can take somebody without any experience and make them a great shooter, but I think you need a little something extra there. Somebody has to do the job. Is really what it boils down to. And you hope to God even though you're willing to do the job, you never have to do the job.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I guess you could say a necessary evil.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point because you said, it takes training and a special type of person to do it. So anyone could really sit at a 50-yard, 100-yard, 200-yard range with a paper target and work thousands of rounds and become proficient. But this is a whole nother level. People need to realize that just because you can hit that paper target at 200 yards at a standstill with no stress inoculation is not the same as being a sniper.
I think you have to also understand that your actions the goal is to save lives.
Right.
You might have to take a life to save innocence.
Right.
And there's and building on that too, right? So let's just talk about the mechanics of firing a round. So that person who goes to the range and they're like, hey, you know what, I can drill this. That's not a problem. Well, that's good. That's part of the issue. Were you doing that all from the bench? I mean, were you shooting off the side of cars? How about in a tunnel? Were you prone? How about in a weird position and using the crook of a tree or two walking sticks to get above the grass? Were you training in adverse environments when you were doing all that? So that's just that.
Were you in a rowboat?
Right. Yeah. Right. From a rowboat. Or then you fire the round. I know what you're thinking, Mike. So then that's a campfire story for camp. So then they'll be rolling. But anyways, when you fire that round, if you're at the range, it's probably going in a berm, right? Well, when you fire and you hit somebody, if you had to shoot someone, where's the bullet going after you fire it? Do you have a backstop? Where's that 308 round going to land after it goes through the tissue? Is it going to stop in the refrigerator right behind the person? I mean, these are the things going through your head. What's going to go through their head is going to be important too. But what's going through your mind when you're thinking about these things is what happens once that bullet passes through them, and there's this slug with still a lot of energy left in it. Where does that go? I mean, it sounds warped, but you have to think of this, because the last thing you want is there's dead air behind that. And you got to ask yourself, where the hell is this thing going to land at the end? So these are kind of questions that, the average person going to the range, isn't going to be thinking of, I mean, they're just, and all the things in between. Like I was talking to you about that manual, that I had worked on ages ago.
Yeah.
Obstacles between you and the target. How much experience do you have with that? I mean, there's so much that goes into it, Jamie. It's insane.
Why 308?
Oh, it's accurate, and it's common, and it's got the meat to go through some objects. It's got the power, and I've tried other rounds. I think the new one that's kind of popular with the kids is the 6.5 millimeter. I think that's that 6.5 Creedmoor. I think is the new,
yeah, it's popular.
I think that's the new popular round. You're not going to change me now. 308 was the one back in the day. That's what all the sniping rifles used. I'm not saying because they all did it was the right thing, but proof's in the pudding. I mean, accuracy is what mechanical accuracy is what you need to have first. You have to be complete. Remember, shooting is 90% mental. Most people, they don't know that, or they think, oh, no, 90% mental. If you don't have full belief in the equipment you're using, you will never get to your full self-actualized potential shooting your equipment. And you can't have that. You just can't. That's a no-go. Like if Mike goes to the range tomorrow, I know his equipment as well as he knows mine. And he knows my rifle will whack.
It's basically the key there is, as a team, we had the same gear. Very minor differences, if any.
Yeah, it was minuscule. I mean, he could pick up my rifle and shoot it. He knows all the qualms and things. There's no qualms, but things with mine, it shoots a little different. It'll feel a little different.
Right.
But, and that's another thing too. I mean, you got to build on that. The teamwork aspect is huge.
So when you were competing, did you ever find other teams, other countries that used a different round than a 308, or was that pretty much the standard?
Oh, good question.
That's a good question.
Let's see. Israelis were using 308s. Germans and Austrians are using 308s. The Belgians 308s. Even the Chinese, I think. No, maybe the Chinese were using
7.62.
They were using it too, I think. Right?
What's that?
They were using that Russian version, I thought of.
Oh, the 3.9. Yeah, not the 5.1.
I think so. I can't remember what the Chinese were using. We shot against a lot of countries. I would say predominantly it was 308. We had a few there that were shooting 7 millimeter magnums. A couple of German teams, I think, had those. The Germans they have always the space guns. I love the Germans. They were fun. The Austrians.
What about type of rifles? What do you recommend? Like, what's the popular precise precision rifle that is a go-to?
Well, first of all, you want to go with bolt action over a semi-automatic.
Yep.
And you want to avoid having a detachable magazine. You want to minimize components that'll be moving around and aren't consistent. So semi-automatic, you're going to have a lot of play. The magazine fed. If you detachable mag, there's always a chance of having it's not seated the same every time.
They're guys.
You have a brand that you would recommend?
Oh, so this is where you get in trouble. So first off, I'm probably the oldest guy on this call. So I believe in KISS, keep it simple for stupid, and that would be me. So my thought process is I like bolt actions. For me, there were only two choices: Winchester or Remington. I do not care for the Remingtons. I like the Winchester Model 70s with a custom barrel, consistent bolt. So every time you close the bolt, you got to remember consistency equals accuracy. Remember that. That's the key. So every time you're doing something mechanically, it has to be consistent. Mike brought up the slop that would be in a magazine in the action on the semi. You have tolerances that aren't as tight as they would be in a bolt action. You want that bolt face to sit at the same time. Every time when you crank that bolt down, you're coming down. So I they're out of business now, but I used to be close with the folks in the Winchester Custom Shop, and they built the sharpshooter rifle. I mean, if you can find one of them used and it's broken right, that is a phenomenal mine. I mean, we're all sub half minute, which means we're shooting less than a half inch at 100 yards. As a matter of fact, I keep this out. It's my favorite target. That's 10 rounds at 100 yards at in the snow. That was a while ago. God, how long ago was that now?
Nice.
Oh, 02. And that was from mine. And Mike's does the same thing. I mean, Michael was little tiny right between CDs at the Budapest competition.
Nice.
We're going to talk about that in a second. So what about the twist? The twist in the barrel. Is there a certain twist you recommend depending on, what you're shooting or distance? Tell us about the twist.
We do 1 in 10. So it's a right-hand twist, 1 in 10. People argue about button rifled and all sorts of. There's certain rifle brands or barrel brands that I like. I happen to like Schneider barrels out of Arizona. The guy's an artist. The HS barrels that we have on the other sharpshooters are also fantastic. It's all about the quality of the barrel build, the consistency of the gun. It depends. Like the 1 in 10, I think seems to be the 1 in 10 twist seems to be the best one. We're shooting out of 26-inch tubes.
You're gonna find somebody that has an answer different than what we're even saying.
That's true. Yeah, right.
So there is no industry standard.
If you pick a quality barrel and you understand your equipment and you become proficient, it's up to the shooter. Like Ed has compiled a lot of data with a lot of stuff. It's phenomenal the research he does before we did anything with the team.
Right.
Not everybody does that. They'll do some research, some data collection and analysis, but ultimately it's what they want, and what they're comfortable with. And they may have a connection with the manufacturer of another barrel. It's 6 of one, half a dozen another. I mean, if it's a quality manufactured barrel,
right,
go with it, enjoy it.
So there's not an industry standard or American standard or police standard 110. It could be that could change depending on the agency.
If you have a rifle that's printing a half minute of angle, that means your bullet is always within a half an inch at 100 yards. You're good. I mean, whatever that rifle is constructed like, it has to be top notch. And you got to remember another little rule: a mediocre rifle will never help your shooting. It will only make you frustrated and angry. So the goal is to make sure, and you remember what goes into a rifle. We talk a lot about rifles and stuff like that, but I can assure you that if you set up your rifle properly, you're going to spend more on a mount and a scope than you will on one of the best rifles you can buy. The glass on our guns with the scope mount, we're probably well over $4,500 just for those two pieces of equipment. And then the rifle's probably, I don't know, $1,500 for a good one, I guess. So when you start, bolt actions, you can get those pretty good now. But maybe more. But once you find one that shoots, I'm lucky I have two. I absolutely, you take them to the range, they're like Cadillacs. I mean, they're just unbelievable. Michael has his, and the gun's unbelievable. I mean, you go to fire them, they're just, so that's what you want. Less than a half minute. I mean, and people say, oh, that's ridiculous. No, it's not. We'll be doing some of that stuff at camp.
Okay. And it's a one-time investment. Once you own it, you take good care of it, you maintain it, you're good, right?
Yeah. They're fun too. I mean, they're just, there's nothing better than being able to look at a target out at 100 yards or 200 yards or 300 yards. We do meters, but for the audience, I assume most are, but if you're shooting out and you're shooting at these targets and you're going to hit them. I mean, it's not a question of if, it's just where.
Right. Yeah, you get good glass on there. You can see what you're hitting. That's the key.
Yeah. I wish we had these scopes for competition in 05. We have now.
Yeah, but the scopes we had were phenomenal. I mean,
they were good then. They were 4x16s.
Yeah, those were great.
Oh, twist. Somebody's asking what that twist. My God. So I'm so sorry about that, Jennifer. That's a great question. So the twist is in the barrel. If you were to look down the barrel from, if you pull the bolt out and you were to look down from the action, down the barrel, inside the barrel, you have lands and grooves, they call them. And those lands and grooves twist one full turn every so many inches. So a 1 in 10 twist means that it's rotating the bullet inside the barrel once every 10 inches. If I said 1 in 12, which that's also a common twist, you're spinning the bullet once every 12 inches. I hope that helped you. And by the way, if you're looking for a nice little rifle, Steyr Scouts, they're expensive, but they're a scout rifle. You put a little 3x7 Burris scope. I'm going to bring that up to camp with me so people can see it. It's like a 6-pound rifle in 308, and that is a tack driver. I mean, it's not as good as my Winchester, but throwing it at a side-by-side or up on a roof mount, that thing is shocked me how accurate that little rifle is. But Steyr Scout, that. Yeah, you bring it up. You'll get to play with that.
Everyone on the social media, on our YouTube and Facebook, thanks for joining us. Hit that like button if you like the content, if you haven't already. And also, if you have questions for Ed, Michael, David, or myself, please type them in the comments box or let us know where you're listening and watching from. We greatly appreciate your support. So here's the next question. Competed internationally. Who was your favorite other country to train with that you felt like they were really comrades and that weren't out to get you? They wanted to beat you because that's what competition is all about. But who did you get along the best that you felt really close and tight with?
I had two. I've got two that I definitely, without doubt, they're tied. I liked them so much. Go ahead, Mike. You go first.
Well, the Israelis they're just fun to hang around with. They were good guys. And granted, like you're saying, they were out there to beat you. It never felt like that. They were, they were just having a nice time, hanging out, drinking coffee. I think they were trying to have us lose by feeding me Turkish coffee they brewed up every night at 3 a.m. I was sitting there 6 cups deep, and I got the shakes. I'm like, I want more.
Yeah.
I slept like the dead, and I didn't have any problems the next day. So it was a good time. But yeah, they were probably the most welcoming guys. And they were a lot of fun.
Yeah. There's really guys, same thing as Mike, but I also have to put them in the same category, the Austrians. I absolutely, those guys are top shelf. They're Vega team over there. They're basically their Vienna anti-terrorist team, in essence, is what they are, WEGA. Their guys are spectacular, professional. The snipers they had, they've come over to America. I remember I took them out to the World Trades when they were still up, and spent a lot of time with those guys, went to their house. The guy who's currently in command, he used to be at the range all the time. He's still there. Phenomenal human beings, just phenomenal. But they were all great. There was a Belgium. There was so many great teams.
A lot of teams and a lot of the other shooters were just awesome people. You can get along with them. We had something to relate to. We were all, competitive precision shooters. We're all snipers. So it was a brotherhood in a way.
I have some camp stories that we won't do here.
There were some people there that we were not going to get along with.
Well, that's my next question. Who was the one group? I'm going to ask it. Who's the group that you've thought these guys are out to get us? They want to know what we do. They want to steal our stuff. I don't trust them at all.
Jamie, I'm going to let Jamie guess. Jamie, who do you think that was?
Honestly?
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
They were taking pictures of everything. But
that's not surprising.
I won't even say what I had for my information was out, but just let's say I don't leave all my stuff hanging out. But the bottom line is there was a guy there with a camera. He was snapping shots of everything. I mean,
we couldn't talk to him. They couldn't speak any English, and they had a handler.
They did. And then
they weren't allowed to go socialize or walk about without somebody monitoring them. It was very interesting.
I met the general. He was very polite. I'll leave it at that. And we talked, and that was about the most it is. And but yeah, they were funny at that point because when we went to compete, keep in mind that they were getting ready for their first Olympics. So they had like Gauls equipment that was on upside down and stuff like that.
Jamie, Eddie, that was their first time ever at a competition, correct?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So China.
And I will say the general I talked to who was there, the guy in their policing, this was a big deal for them. There was a lot of Chinese guys there at this competition. Very, very polite. He was very, very nice.
And you could tell how new everything was. Like we were saying,
he was, but
take it out of the
they
box,
definitely
it's
had
got
guys there looking at all the equipment. I mean, and you got to keep in mind too, Mike and I mean, if you were to just look at our stuff on the line, it's nothing really to look at. I mean, it's a bull action Winchester rifle. I mean, it's no space gun stuff. I mean, it's
well,
a
back
tac
then. Back then, it was very basic. It's a little more.
Even now,
it's a little more now.
Yeah, and even now, you guys will see them. I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing out mine.
Oh, they've seen it.
They've seen yours, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we got to be careful with this conversation. It sounds terrible. I just hope I answered Jennifer's question fully.
They've
Going
seen
down
my
the
rifle.
Yeah. We're probably going to be kicked off of several networks now with the stuff.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. I'm always here trying to help.
So we're going to be heading over to the after party in just a few minutes, probably another 4 or 5 minutes here. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's free and easy. Head over to T4Survival.com, click on the Become a Member link. It will send us an approval. We'll approve you, and then you'll be able to join us in the after party. The reason for the after party is so that we can have a little bit more deeper discussion that's not going to be censored or controlled by social media overlords, and being able to have you guys ask as many questions as you like and not have to worry about being out on the internet, and for others to be able to have access to.
We'll talk more about the camp stuff too, because I definitely want to, the camp that you guys have. I mean, I'm excited about going up this year. I mean, I haven't coached. I used to coach a lot of people on shooting rifle. I mean, a lot of people, and I haven't done that in a long time. And I'm actually, some of the basics that I'm looking forward to doing up there with you guys, and mainly helping people learn what understanding the mechanics of what your equipment is capable of first, which applies to hunters, and folks like that. So now you guys do a great job. I mean, it's, this is kind of weird. I'm back again after doing the book, which, by the way, don't forget American Calamity. There's a plug.
Get it out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, American Calamity. I'm telling you, reviews have been great. People, they read it. I go to the gun club. I had a couple people come up to me and they're like, "Yeah, that was really good. Are you sure it's fiction?"
Oh, look at that.
Not always far from me at all.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
I've actually had a lot of clients over the past couple of weeks send me pictures of them unwrapping it from the box and saying it's here, so they can start. Michael. There we go.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Thanks. It was a ball. Book 2 is in the editing phase right now. Jamie's been trying to get me before the show started to give out more information. Yeah. Terrible. These guys are rough, folks.
Well, we'll see what we can get out of you at the campfire.
Yeah. So speaking of camp, we got camp coming up. We've got a whole day of rifle training, right? So if somebody wanted to attend camp, all right, and they have a rifle, what accessories would you recommend? Bipods, sling, what? Give us some thoughts that they could put together to be able to attend camp for that one day.
And keeping that in mind that they aren't going to go out and spend thousands of dollars. What are the top 3 or 4 things besides the rifle?
Super green.
Right.
Super green.
That they should have.
Well, I mean, so my first thing, let's say, like, if my scout rifle doesn't have a lot of stuff on it. It's got a scope and it's a rifle. I mean, it's basic rings. I'm more concerned with people that have had their confidence in something for a long time and they don't really know how it shoots. And they've never been shown, like, what is it mechanically capable of? That's the first thing you want to learn, and then once you do that, if you have something that's you think is accurate, I've got a couple exercises Mike will be familiar with. He'll help me out with them. He knows exactly what they are. And you can lay there for a while and it'd be just like hunting. You're going to hunt. The difference between hunting and what we did professionally on the job, there's only a couple degrees difference. You got to be patient in a tree stand. So if you wanted to go out and buy, let's say, Harris bipods, I'm more concerned with somebody having something, they're set up the way they're comfortable with what their setup is. And then if they go to camp and they realize, I maybe can do better. Maybe I want to spend something on this. You can, but Harris bipods is always a good place to start. The only thing I would caution people on with Harris bipods, I like the short ones. That's great. It worked well for what I did. But you'd be better off having a bag with plastic pellets in it and using that than the bipod. Let's say you got a bipod with short little stubby legs like I have, the small one. you can use that on hard surfaces. It works great. Like if you're shooting off a rooftop rack in your truck, or to get height or whatever that might be, that's great. But then you can take the sandbag, filled with plastic pellets because it's lighter, and then you can actually mount the gun. And I'd like to show people how those little tiny skills too. That Mike knows what I'm talking about. Mike's been doing this for years. That's the skill sets. These are some basic things that a lot of people don't know. And then maybe have them do a scenario of testing their abilities with their own equipment. And it's not to judge people. It's just to understand what your limitations are mechanically first. And then once and then if you're not sure what that is, I have no problem. I'm sure Mike doesn't, getting behind the wheel of whatever they have and see what we can do with it. We'll have to prove ourselves first, though.
So sandbag over the bipod.
Oh, always. Mother Earth, always. I mean, there's something called a Hawkins prone. And people used to get pissed when I used it in competitions, but it's completely legal. I would literally fur out the ground, and I'd put my gun in the ground and shoot on it that way. It's called Hawkins prone. I mean, you're low. And if you can get away with it and you're in a higher elevation and you can do that.
If your stomach's not too big.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
These are all concerns.
I'm getting a little bigger bipod these days, okay, buddy?
Yeah, that's true. But the reality is we can show people those but it's always Mother Earth. Mother Earth wins over anything artificial every day.
So let's talk about rounds. Someone comes with a 308 rifle. Do they just buy any basic round, or should they go with a certain grain? What's your thought there?
Probably 90% of the rifles out there, I would say even more than that, most likely. The best round that you can buy if you really want to test the rifle is probably Federal Gold Medal 308. It's going to be, you're going to pay some, and of course Jeff just says how much ammo is recommended for the rifle training. It depends on what we do. You got to keep in mind when you're shooting rifle and you're doing precision, quantity is not what you're looking to do there. So, one of the things I would do is you bring 100 rounds. People are like, oh, that's nothing. Yeah, when you're making every round, remember, I have the philosophy when you shoot precision, every round, it matters. It's like a personal insult if you don't hit where you're supposed to hit. So, 100 rounds.
You want to get crazy, you bring 200, 250, but that's on you. It gets expensive when you start cranking off 308 rounds just because you want to have fun and not get any real value out of it.
There's a big difference between shooting them out of an AR-10 and shooting them out of bolt action. Trust me, you get done firing 100 rounds in a day if you really cared when you were seeing where they were going, as opposed to going bang, bang. And I'm not a big bang, bang guy. All mine, I got a reason why they're going down range. And so, teach them that too. That's the other thing we'd want to do too is, show them how it works, but also, like cleaning regimens and stuff and how to break in barrels. Most people never get, the old people, that's a bunch of BS. No, I've broken in, and Michael can attest to this, 5 Winchester sharpshooters, and we don't have what they call a cold bore shot. And what does that mean? So a cold bore shot is when the rifle is cleaned. You just got done shooting at the range. You get done, you clean it, do all your cleaning regimens, same every time. Consistency equals accuracy. Clean the gun, you put it away. You pull it out, the gun's clean, you go to fire that first round. Many, 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 many guns that are out there that shoot, they have a special cold bore 0 that they have to dial on the gun in order for that to hit in the center. And then after they fire that first round and the gun is fouled, they take it and change it back to what their 0 is, and then it shoots there the rest of the way. That's common, very common. I was worried about that when I first started this game back in 94. And who did I sit down with? I sat down with the bench rest shooters. They must have this problem. They're cleaning their gun every 12 rounds almost. And they showed me, break the gun and you won't have a cold bore problem that you can perceive. And sure enough, none of my guns that I've been around that I ever broke in. That's why Mike kind of gives you that look when I say cold bore shot. He's like, what the freaking hell is that? He's never had a cold bore shot ever. His cold bore is spoiled. Well, you earned it.
What do you do to break in your gun? What is a break-in?
It's basically it's in manual I have there, but it's like the first 100 rounds, in essence, you're firing for the first 10, you're firing one round and you're cleaning the gun, like full clean, swabbing it. Because when they do the rifling process, there's all these little micro things that are in the barrel. And what happens is they start, if you leave them in there and you just start shooting, you're going to gouge your barrel. And then what ends up happening? Well, the fouling fills those gouges in. So that becomes the normal thing. So now you go to clean the gun out and you're done. And now the condition has changed. The consistency has changed. And the bullet goes down and it just changes a little bit. So you might have it off a half an inch.
Wow.
You're like, oh, that's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. I want all mine going through the same freaking hole at 100 yards, no matter what condition my gun's in. And then if you've already shot the hell out of your rifle, then you're beyond that now. But if you pick up like a Steyr Scout, you bought it new. I know Jennifer was talking about a rifle. And let's say they went out and bought a Steyr scope, put a Burris scope on it. Steyr is the first company that I saw that actually has a barrel break-in procedure in their manual. I was like blown away. And I did it, and that gun doesn't have a cold bore either.
So here's a question. Someone has a hunting rifle that they've used for years. Have they passed the opportunity to be able to break it in properly of what you're describing?
Probably, yeah. And they probably know that the gun shoots differently on the first round, too. Most hunters they sight their gun in and they go to, I mean, when I'm at the range, they'll show up to fire one round to check it for deer season, and then they'll go home, clean it, and it's ready for their one round. I mean, that's, they're pretty, and even if it's off a little bit, they don't really care. And most of the time you look at their setup, even like rings and scopes, they're always overlooked by people. And I don't like criticizing people's equipment. Okay. So I don't want to sound like that's my goal. I don't do that. What I do though, is try to make sure that you understand like why this is important. And then you make your own judgment call from that point. For some people, they may view it as, well, that's good enough for me. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If it puts meat on the table, you're right and I'm wrong.
Well, so we're telling everyone that's coming to camp, buy a new rifle. Good excuse to tell your wife.
Give me a call.
If you do that and you want to break them in, you better get ready for a lot longer day at the range, and bring a lot of cleaning equipment. Ox bore or ox yoke patches is my recommended patches. Shooter's choice, if you can find it, is the rifle. That's the bore cleaner. Hoppies for your solvent, although there's other solvents. I'll bring some up. And then copper phosphor brushes with a one-piece cleaning rod. Those are your basics.
All right. We'll make sure that gets it out to everyone. But it's a good excuse to buy another rifle. And if you do that, bring more than 100 rounds, because you're going to need the 100 probably just to break it in. Then after that, really get into the...
Yeah, you're going to not want to shoot much more after that. You're going to be so freaking tired from cleaning that thing. You're going to be like, yeah, I've had enough. I mean, Michael, how was the break-in time for the gun? Yours was already broke in.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't. I told you I was spoiled.
That's right. You never even broke your gun
Listen,
in.
I didn't break it in, but I will tell you, if I had to do the cleaning process that many times in a row, I would have quit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. That's that perseverance thing. See, that would have been a good test. I should have had Michael do that.
Bring your kids to camp.
Yeah.
And there we go. We'll teach them how to clean the firearm, right? Which we have parents bringing their kids already.
Yeah.
And it's a good opportunity to work with you guys and also get some time breaking in the gun, learning how to clean it properly, and you can offset. Dad does the cleaning one time, kid does it clean the other time, wife does it clean the other time, because we do also have husband, wife, and kids coming too. So,
well, I personally, the best one I've seen out there that I think is practical. I tell all my friends this for rifles. I says, listen, they're like, I don't know if I want an AR-15, which I actually like those. I prefer them, but the Steyr Scout bolt action 308, I'm telling you that is for what you're getting, and then putting on the Burris scope. And I don't mind even helping people with that. If somebody comes to camp with a new Steyr and they have a Burris mount or scope, get the lowest mount rings you can. I think they're Vortex low mount rings, I think is what they are on that. But if they came, I'd even show them how to put the scope on. I did an article on how to mount a scope back in the day. So
do you have a recommended Burris scope?
Yeah, the Scout scope. It's an extent. The scope actually sits in front of the action. It's it looks totally unnatural, but it works like a charm. I mean, it's like that would be my go-to bolt action going in the woods if I was going to take a bolt action with me. No doubt in my mind. I mean, I love my Winchester, but it weighs 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Steyr Scout fully loaded with an extra magazine in the back is maybe 6 pounds, 6.5 pounds with the scope. I mean, it's light.
26-inch barrel, just like your.
No, it's a smaller barrel. It's a lot smaller. It's a matter of fact, it's like a spaghetti barrel almost. That's why I didn't really expect much, because my Schneider barrel's like that's a meat pole, but this freaking the Austrian one is all fluted and stuff. I don't know money from Steyr AUG, or trust me.
Yeah,
but
Starting to wonder. You said Steyr Scout so many times.
Oh, I love it. Huh. Oh, I love it. It's a great gun. And you know what? It's good for females too that have small frames. It is the perfect. I think it's the perfect little rifle for somebody if they need to have something. And plus, unlike an AR-15, this is going to put meat on the table. It's a 308.
Right.
I mean, you could put meat on the table with an AR-15, but it's going to be ugly.
Right.
But
they come with a 9-inch barrel. So
is it
definitely a little shorter?
Yeah, it's tiny. I'm telling you. And I never in a million years thought that gun would be as accurate as it is. I mean, it's one hole. I mean, it's maybe not quite half minute, but it's not much over that. I'm not
if
saying
anybody wants to know what I want for Father's Day, it's a Steyr Scout, please. Just
putting in the
request
now.
For all of you.
Throw it in the chat. We'll log it.
What I can do is we can for Mother's Day, I think would be good to get the Scout for my wife, and then Father's Day, I'll take the Winchester.
Ball, right? Like Homer's bowling ball.
My wife would love the rifle, actually.
Yeah, that's good.
She'd be mad I didn't get her one.
Yeah, as long as you don't put your name on it. It says Jamie on the side of it or anything, right?
With love.
Yeah,
there you go.
This is becoming a habit. Every time we get on this thing together, we say it's going to be so long, and look at where we're at.
I know. All right, so two more questions, and then we're kicking off of here. If you guys have questions for these guys, we're going to go to the after party. You could join us there, or you can also type in a question right now. You got a couple minutes left, and we'll ask that question live.
Yeah, Jennifer, yes, I've got you. Just give me a call when you're ready.
Awesome. So next question is, what's the longest shot that you've made in competition? And tell us the distance and what the size of the shot was. We'll go to Ed first, and then Mike, you're second.
Well, the longest I've ever shot at is 1,000 yards, but not in competition. The longest target I've shot at was a silhouette at 700 meters, which is, hold on, I got to look it up here. It's about 800 yards, a little under 800 yards, in fog and rain and wind in Texas, and it sucked.
How big was your target?
It was like an IPSC A-zone target, like a reduced silhouette size.
Okay.
And then with a little V on the top. And it's the LaRue target I'm bringing up the camp. I'm going to have Mike bring it up in the truck. And then, because it's heavy. And then, what is it? It was 5 rounds. I think I hit it 3 out of 5 times. I tied some guy who was a champion long distance shooter. Him and I were tied. So that was the best I ever did long distance. It was hard.
Mike.
Oh, what was Wyoming at? 300 or 400?
You were banging them out 400 at least at one point.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it was. It was a bullseye target, but I can't remember how big it was.
Yeah, you nailed it. I remember going to that. That was, oh my God, that was awful. Yeah.
What was awful about it?
Strider knives.
Yeah. 2 fatties walking across the expanses of Wyoming. That wasn't interesting. I mean, we
went to a shoot that was geared for like Army, and we're 2 cops.
Oh my God. It was.
I knew we were in trouble when we turned around and the guy had 30 pistol mags on a vest.
Yeah.
And we had 3.
Yeah. We had a
they were
duty
military?
Rate. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 2 parts of the competition. That was the first part. And then the second part was 300 up to 300 meters, I think it was, Mike. And it was bullseye targets there too. And you were drilling the snot out of those.
Yeah, I did 300, 200, or 250, and then there was one more that you had to shoot.
Yeah, they were varied, right? That's right.
Yep.
And then we were whacking those, and it was a speed drill, which is, we were loading rounds in because you couldn't load your gun before you went into position, right? You had to slide into it, underneath these
But
piers.
your partner can load your well.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Well, you can load it. So we figured out the fastest way to do it.
He couldn't touch my gun,
I
but he
couldn't
could
touch
throw
it.
the first round in the well, and I was able to slide the bolt home, and I was going
Took my
almost
thumb
too
off.
fast. I almost took his finger off at one point.
Almost took my thumb off. It was like a machine gun. Very rarely do you fire that fast on single loading, but if you got the right partner, you can do it.
Wow. And how many
Yeah.
shots did you hit going that fast?
5, right? It was 5 right in a row.
Yeah, I had to take my 2 targets out, and then he had to jump on and do his.
Yeah, and while he was doing his and I'm loading them, I'm stuffing rounds in my magazine, my fixed magazine. Yeah, it was fun. That was a fun time.
Mike, tell us about the CD spindle. Where was that? And tell us that.
Well, that was a Budapest. They had CDs at 110 meters or 100 meters.
Yeah.
And there was 2 CDs, and they were on the target. You had to shoot through the center without touching, because if you hit too much of the plastic, it would shatter the CD.
Hit any of the
And
plastic shatter.
Well, yeah, I kissed it on the second
Yeah,
one.
yeah, but I mean, it was like
They had tape over the center to make sure, as a witness, so you couldn't say, "Oh, I got it." Yeah, the first one I cleaned it pretty much dead center, and the next one, the second CD, I just kissed the plastic on the inner of the ring, and it was, you can see the little slightly melted, but really it didn't crack.
Wow.
It was I was
you
like,
got
"Oh,
credit for that shot, though, right?
huh?"
You got credit for that. You had to crack it.
Oh no, I got credit for both of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got to crack. If you crack the CD, which they cracked, trust me, because I missed both my shots. He cleaned it. A lot of people missed that. I mean, small, tiny in a CD.
How many people actually made multiple shots of that?
No one made 2. Mike was the only one that made 2. That I do remember.
Wow.
Yeah, there was in the Hungarian.
Mike.
Very good.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he nailed that one. That was to this day.
I'm so proud of that shot. I still have the CDs. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you should.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So out of everyone that competed in the world at that competition, Mike was the only one to get 2 shots through.
To my memory, yeah, there was a lot of smashed CDs. I know mine were cracked.
I didn't know that until right now.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I looked. Oh yeah, you kidding me? I'm always, because
The data guy.
Now that I'm complimenting. Remember though, he is still the only human being I know on the planet that has ever jammed a Model 70 Winchester in competition. If he did not jam that gun, I would have been 5th in the world, and he would have been at least 2nd in the world, and we would have been first place team. Yep, no doubt. He was on fire that last day. On fire.
There's some speculation on that, buddy.
No, there's no speculation. He was on fire. I mean, when you partner with people, remember your goal is always, you want your partner to always do better than you do. He was on fire that day, and I kind of wasn't. I was doing good, but I wasn't on fire like he was. He was on fire. I mean,
I couldn't miss that day. It was amazing.
That day. Everything, and that is, I'll tell you what, and I don't want to hold this up too long, but when you're shooting with a partner in a competition and you're watching your partner excel, if you have a healthy team, there is no better feeling in the world, because you realize there's days I carried Mike. There's days Mike carried me. Well, that day Mike was dragging my ass that day. I mean, he was when I say on fire, I'm not even blowing smoke up his rear end. He was on fire. That CD.
We were tagging hen's eggs at 100.
Oh, that I was able to do that. I mean, yeah. So I don't want to hold it up. But these are great.
We'll go to
These
the
are
after
great.
party for it.
All right, we'll go to the after party. These are good.
We got to dig in more on this and talk more about the competition, the jamming of the weapon, and dig in even deeper. But
That never happened.
Yeah. Strider knives.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Strider knives.
So, guys, we're going to sign off of YouTube, Facebook, and our other social media channels. We're heading over to the after party. Hit that like button before you leave the social media channels. Head over to t4survival.com. Get logged in now. If you're not a member yet, click on the Become a Member on the front page. Put your name, email in. We'll get you approved, and you'll be able to join us in the after party in just a few minutes and be able to continue the conversation with us. And we're going to also be enjoying some Johnny Walker. Am I correct? Got it ready to go. All right.
What else is there?
We're getting ready to sign. Well, Ed's got a list. But for tonight, that's all there is.
A list of things. Oh, gosh. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Jamie from T4 Survival, along with Edward, Michael, and David. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the after party. If you're watching the replay, please put a comment in. Let us know what you think of this content, and we'll see you in the next live stream coming up in 2 weeks. And then, of course, the T4 Survival Camp happening on Moosehead Lake. If you need info on that, head to the website. Click on the camp link. That's it for now. We'll see you in the after party. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Oi. Oh, I got muted. They all want to hear me talking.